Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes in tech, an idea just lands wrong. Initially, it's maybe too weird, too different. But then years later, everyone realizes that was the thing. It becomes this legendary piece.
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time with groundbreaking gear. Misunderstood at first, then suddenly indispensable. It's like the market needed time to catch up to the vision.
That is exactly the story we're digging into today, based on your source stack.
Yeah.
We're looking at the BOS VB2 Vibrato, the original one from, 82?
That's right, 1982 to 86. And then its comeback kid, the VB2W Waza version from 2016 onwards.
Okay, so our mission here is to really get under the hood of this specific effect.
Yeah.
What made this true pitch vibrato so special? Why did it define a certain sound? And, why did the original become such a collector's item?
Exactly. We need to understand the tech, sure, but also the feel, the sound, the reason it ended up on all those alternative rock records, and why people paid crazy money for originals before the Waza came along.
Right. Let's nail down that core technical thing straight away, because it's crucial. When people hear modulation, they often think tremolo, maybe chorus. But the VB2 wasn't doing either of those, was it?
No, not at all. It was doing something fundamentally different, something more, almost more unsettling, but also really liquid and lush.
Okay, explain that difference. Tremolo is?
Tremolo just turns the volume up and down. It pulses. Amplitude modulation.
Got it. And chorus?
Chorus uses a short delay, kind of smears the signal, makes the sound thicker, adds that shimmer, that swirl. It's technically time modulation, but it gives you that doubling effect.
But the VB2, that's pitch.
Precisely. True pitch vibrato. It's actually bending the note sharp and flat over and over. It uses an analog circuit, specifically a bucket brigade delay, chip, a BBD, to physically change the pitch.
Wow, okay, so it's messing with the actual frequency.
Exactly. Without the volume changes of tremolo or the phasey swirl of chorus, just pure pitch wobble. And getting that into a small BOSS pedal in 1982, that was seriously advanced stuff.
And you mentioned the BBD chip. The sources talk about the analog LFO, the low-frequency oscillator, being key to the character of the VB2. Why is the analog part so important there?
Well, the LFO is basically the engine driving the effect, right? It creates the wave that tells the pitch how fast and how much to bend.
Rate and depth controls, essentially.
Exactly. Now, in an analog circuit like the VB2's BBD setup, that LFO wave isn't perfectly smooth or mathematically precise like a digital one might be. It's got these tiny irregularities, this sort of organic instability.
Oh, okay.
And that's the magic. That slight imperfection makes the pitch movement feel warm, liquid, sometimes a bit ghostly, or like, as you said, like old tape warble. It breathes.
That beautiful imperfection. That's what the ditch hunters are after, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. That's the soul of it.
Okay, let's dive into section 1 then. The original legend, VB2, 1982 to 1986. 4 short years. It had this unique pitch thing, going from subtle shimmer to,
Seasick wobble is the classic description when you crank it.
Right. But it wasn't just the sound. The controls were also kind of ahead of their time.
Definitely. You had your standard rate and depth, sure. But the rise time knob, that was a real standout. It changed how you could use the effect dynamically.
Tell us about rise time. Your sources call it a game changer. What's it actually do?
It controls how long it takes for the vibrato effect to fade into full intensity after you step on the pedal.
Oh, interesting. So not just instantly on.
Right, you could set it to 0 for an immediate effect or dial it up so the wobble gradually swells in over, say, 3 or 4 seconds. It let you create these smooth cinematic buildups, like adding an expressive layer, not just switching an effect on. You didn't really find that on stomp boxes back then.
That's pretty sophisticated for 82.
Yeah.
And maybe even more radical was the mode switch, latch and unlatch.
Yeah, unlatch or momentary mode. Latch is simple. Step on it, effect stays on. Again, it's off. Standard stuff.
But momentary?
Momentary changes the whole philosophy. The vibrato is only active while your foot is holding down the switch.
Yeah.
Lift your foot, the effect stops instantly.
Okay, that is different. How does that change how you play?
Fundamentally, instead of having the vibrato constantly running in the background, you can use it like a quick expressive touch. A little wobble on the end of a held chord, release. A quick dip on a single note, like faking a whammy bar bend, release.
So it becomes more like punctuation, a musical gesture.
Exactly, an exclamation mark, not just wallpaper sound. It makes you perform the effect, not just switch it on.
And you'd think that kind of expressive power would make it a hit, but it wasn't.
Nope, commercial flop. Guitarists at the time generally found it too weird. Maybe the pure pitch thing was just too subtle or too strange compared to chorus, which was huge then.
Yeah.
So yeah, short production run, gone by 86.
Which, of course, set the stage for its future cult status. Rarity factor.
Textbook case. Innovative, unique sound, short run. Cue the collectors discovering it years later and the price is going through the roof.
Okay, let's talk about that discovery phase. Section 2. The sound, the cult, the impact. What exactly is that sound that got people hooked later on?
It's instantly recognizable once you hear it. Keep the rate and depth low, and it's this beautiful, subtle shimmer, almost like a very slight tape warble, just adding movement without being obvious.
Okay.
But then you start turning those knobs up, and the pitch bends get wider, faster. That's when you get the classic seasick thing. It's this deep, liquid, almost unsettling analog wobble. It can be gorgeous or kind of disturbing, depending on how you use it.
And that specific flavor, that woozy texture, found its niche, right? Late 80s, early 90s. Alternative scenes.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't about crystal clear tones. It was about creating atmosphere, texture, something a bit off-kilter. It was perfect for adding movement to clean guitars, especially layered chords, or making lead lines sound sort of detached, detuned.
And this became a key ingredient for shoegaze, right?
Sure.
And alternative rock more broadly.
Absolutely. It became a secret weapon for creative sound design. When you think about that slightly swimmy, detuned guitar sound from that era, the VB2 is often part of that recipe.
We have to name names here. The sources point to specific artists who basically canonized this pedal.
For sure. Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine is probably the most famous user. His use of pitch bending, including the VB2, is legendary. And Jay Mashies from Dinosaur Jr. too, they really helped define that woozy, swirling sound that became iconic.
So it went from flop to foundational. It wasn't just a quirky effect, it was part of a genre's DNA.
Exactly. And its influence carried on. You see later BOSS pedals, even digital ones like the MD500 or analog ones like the Dimension C, trying to capture some of that specific analog LFO magic, that organic movement. The VB2 set a benchmark. Okay,
so we've got this influential classic. It sounds amazing, but it's rare, expensive, and has those vintage quirks like the old power supply needs.
Right, the ACA adapter hassle.
So the demand is there, but the supply is limited and tricky. How do you bring it back right? That seems like the challenge BOSS faced.
And that led to the Wazacraft line, and specifically the VB2W in 2016. The idea behind Wazacraft is sort of ultimate BSS, revisiting classics with premium components and maybe some smart updates. The VB2 was a prime candidate.
The motivation was pretty clear then. Give people that legendary sound, but make it reliable, quiet, and easy to use on a modern pedal board.
Precisely. And they really delivered on fixing the old issues.
What did they improve specifically, beyond just remaking it?
Okay, first, critically, it's still all analog. The BBD core is there. But they used modern, higher quality components. This resulted in better headroom, so it handles hotter signals better, and crucially, a much lower noise floor. The originals could get a bit hissy, especially with the depth cranked. The Waza is significantly quieter.
And the power issue.
Solved. The VB2W runs on a standard 9-volt PSA adapter, just like pretty much every other modern pedal. No more hunting for obscure vintage power supplies or dealing with daisy chain issues. That alone was a huge practical upgrade.
So better performance, less noise, modern power. Sounds like a faithful recreation plus practical fixes.
It is, but the Waza team went further. They didn't just recreate, they expanded its capabilities. The biggest change is the addition of a second mode.
Ah, right. Standard and custom modes.
Yeah. So standard mode is designed to be a dead-on recreation of the original 1982 VB2. That smooth, warm, slightly imperfect vintage wobble. If you want that classic sound, standard mode nails it.
Okay, classic flavor covered.
Right.
What about custom mode? What's the twist?
Custom mode pushes the envelope. It uses the same analog BBD circuit, but tweaks the parameters. You get significantly deeper modulation available, potentially a bit more output level, and the LFO can go faster and wider.
So it takes the original character and exaggerates it.
Kind of. It allows for much more extreme pitch bending, almost getting into chorus-like territory at some settings, but still with that pure pitch modulation feel. It's more intense, capable of wider detuned sounds. Think really deep, swirling textures, great for ambient stuff or more modern sounds.
So you get the vintage original and a kind of VB2 on steroids in one box.
Pretty much, yeah. It gives you options. And they added one more really useful modern feature, an expression input.
Oh, nice. For controlling.
The rate. You plug in a standard expression pedal, and you can sweep the speed of the vibrato with your foot in real time.
That opens up a lot of possibilities. You could do slow pulsing swells that speed up dramatically, or set the rate to 0 and manually sweep it for weird pitch effects.
Exactly. It turns the pedal into a much more dynamic, interactive instrument, really useful for performance.
And this combination, the authentic vintage tone, the expanded custom mode, the expression control, plus the reliability. That's why the VB2W has been so successful, right? It's not just nostalgia.
Definitely not. It's a seriously usable, great-sounding pedal in its own right. You see players like John Frusciante using it, Kevin Parker from Tame Impala, often on synths too, not just guitar. That deep analog movement is still very much in demand.
Okay, let's bring it all together then. Section 4, Evolution and Synthesis. We have the VB2 original.
Defined by that revolutionary pitch circuit, the rise time control, and especially that game-changing momentary mode, its character. Warm, liquid, vintage, maybe a bit noisy.
And then the VB2W Waza Craft.
Keeps the analog core, keeps the rise time and momentary modes, but adds the quieter circuit, the modern power, the deeper custom mode, and the expression input character. Faithfully vintage in standard mode, or deeper and wider in custom, more versatile.
So the Waza Craft philosophy here seems to be about honoring the original vision, but sanding off the rough edges and adding flexibility.
That's a good way to put it. Waza means art and technique, and the VB2W really balances that heritage, the art of the original sound, with modern technical refinement and expanded options. It respects the past, but isn't trapped by it.
The sources really paint this as one of Boss's major success stories, this whole VB2 arc.
Yeah, they call it one of the most revered two-pedal arcs in their history. It proves that a truly innovative idea, even one initially misunderstood, can endure and even deepen its impact over time.
It's a great narrative, isn't it? The strange duckling becomes the benchmark. An idea rejected as too weird ends up setting the standard for its effect type, pure analog vibrato.
It really did. And reflecting on that core innovation, that momentary mode, using the effect as a quick gesture.
That makes you think. It wasn't just about the sound, it was about how you could interact with the sound. That control aspect was key.
Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about the original VB2, was its legendary status achieved despite its flaws, the noise, the power issues, the scarcity? Or did those very limitations, forcing players to be really deliberate with that momentary switch, actually contribute to its cult appeal and its unique place in music history? Something to ponder.